if you want to start like working up your way in an easier way, I would call this a hack. And basically, the whole strategy behind the duplicate campaign hack is understanding already whatever it works. And if it works well, why not duplicate it? And based on that, I would be like happy to share like when to apply it, when not to apply it, match types, and so on. But I just let you on because you also understand ads, so just throw questions at me.
I am super, super excited to have on my very good friend, Mimi from ScaleWave, here to teach us about a hack to get the most out of your Amazon advertising. And she's calling it the duplicate campaign hack. Welcome. I'm excited to pick your brain. Advantage of me being where I am and having the network I have in the Amazon ad space is I get to talk to amazing, very talented, very smart people like yourself. So I'm excited to have you on and share one of your best tips on Amazon ads.
Flatter level 100+% right back at you. So thank you so much for having me on. Yeah, the duplicate campaign hack. So basically I am, first off, upfront, totally against about tips, tricks, hacks, and so on and so forth. However, if you want to start like working up your way in an easier way, I would call this a hack. And basically, the whole strategy behind the duplicate campaign hack is understanding already whatever it works. And if it works well, why not duplicate it? And based on that, I would be like happy to share like when to apply it, when not to apply it, match types, and so on. But I just let you on because you also understand ads, so just throw questions at me.
Yeah, so I am here to ask all the questions. So this is honestly kind of the conversations I would have in a behind the scenes conversation, like if we weren't recording this, to be able to share it as well. This is the kind of stuff I do. Someone's like, oh, I have this really cool thing. I'm like, that's amazing. Tell me more. Okay, so like, how do you do that? How do you do that? Like, how do you get the most out of, like, what are you doing? How do you make it work? And so my first question on that is, I guess that, like, what is a duplicate? Like, are you duplicating existing campaigns? Is it the same match type? Like, give us the nitty gritty on what's the first step to doing this.
Sure. So imagine I love to think in a very visual way. So imagine that you're going to the gym and want to replicate whatever worked. Like yesterday, you put in 2 reps into like, your arms and you see, oh, actually it feels like stronger, you know, and why not to put in like 2 more extra reps, you know? Basically, the whole strategy behind this hack, it's exactly the same. We are going to do this to campaigns that already work. If you see that something is not working well, clearly you're not going to duplicate it. But let's say that you have a discovery campaign, and discovery here, just like also our audience to understand, this is supposed to be either a broad match, either a phrase match, either auto-targeting. So something that is triggering keywords for whatever you want to show up for, but it's not exactly an exact match campaign. So that now that it's out of the way, you would apply this once that you already see positive results under the expected ACOS or under break-even ACOS. So this is a campaign that already works well. This is a campaign that already has been proven like significant results in the past. And also this is one of the campaigns why this is a hack is usually for discovery campaigns. I'm not sure also on your end, Elizabeth, but just like throw at me like ideas. When it comes down to discovery campaigns, these are the campaigns that we put so much effort in already because we already negated things. We already know what works, which products this works for, which product is not working for. So we already have a better understanding. We put in the work, and what we're going to do, we're just going to duplicate the same campaign and see how it's going to perform. Now, really important note here, because I'm hearing already like questions thrown at me like, you're going to duplicate the same thing and you're competing against yourself and so on and so forth. It's like, no, it's not the case. Especially if you don't have fixed bids for this type of campaigns, you are going to allow Amazon to show you on other placement, maybe rest of search, product pages, and so on, probably not top of search, where you would have not shown up. And what you're doing, you're just like allocating some more budget to Amazon that previously worked.
So when you say duplicate, because I know in the ad console you can go and you can just hit copy. Is that what you're doing?
That's exactly what you're doing.
Which is a fantastic hack because like that's the easiest thing ever. You're just copying, right?
Exactly. So yeah, at ScaleWave, we love to do everything like using the 80-20 rule. Basically, we're going to look into like whatever already works. Why not copy whatever it worked? And here, keep in mind that you already put in so much time in. You understand that campaign. You understand what works. You understand what doesn't work. And there's no guarantee that that campaign that you're just going to create is going to perform exactly the same way. But already you understand the bids, like how much should you bid, and you have the way more control than whenever you would just start a random campaign. Does it make sense?
Yeah, interesting. I have another question on that. It sounds like you're going in, you're saying, okay, this is where I have good ACOS, this is where I have good performance, and then all right, copy it, and then you can see how that performs. In that copy, one, is there any specific criteria of certain types of campaigns or match types that you found that doesn't work well for, or do you pretty much say like, hey, even if it's, I don't know, like a sponsor brand, sponsor display, sponsor product, and all the match types underneath, as long as it's hitting KPIs, we would try and duplicate it? Or have you noticed there's a point where you would be a little bit more specific about the types of campaigns you duplicate?
Right. So usually this is supposed to be like, especially for discovery campaigns, so sponsor product campaigns, because those are the most ones that are really like moving the needle, basically. And here what we want to duplicate is like, we want to assure that already we negated out everything. So everything that did not work well, all the products, as I was saying, for example, let's say that we're creating a catch-all campaign, because that's the hot topic, how to get sales. Let's say that we're creating a catch-all campaign. In that catch-all campaign, already we know what works, like which are the products that if we throw in 20 SKUs, which SKU actually works well, then we are going to leave only that on. So all the other products that might be there already paused. We already know that there's like underneath the ACOS that we want to, like, if it's a 20% ACOS for that campaign to work well, what we want to do, we want to replicate the same process. So here, just like, so it's clear, we are going to duplicate whatever worked well within everything what is inside. Did that answer your question? Because I feel like it might have.
Yeah, no, that did. And I maybe I'll clarify what I understood and you tell me if I got it wrong. So you're saying like this is not for, so like say we launched a campaign last week, right? We're like, oh my gosh, ACOS, we're pretty sure that it will continue, but we're not really sure. You're saying like, hey, for the stuff you're uncertain of, that you're still kind of in that optimization phase and still trying to figure it out and really dial it in with negative keywords and your bids and everything. Probably don't do that. Like those are not the things to copy. The copy are the ones that you're like, oh my gosh, this is crushing it. Especially like you said in sponsored products, because the ad inventory is much more. So your ability to like show up in, like you were saying, different placements, different search pages, it's much more likely that you'll hit a broader audience in sponsored products versus the other ad types. That would be the other thing that you're doing. And then it also sounds like you're more focused on, like you said, those discovery campaigns. For me, I would not clarify, but I would more specifically say the match types that have the ability to trigger different searches. So that's your broads, your autos, your category targeting. It sounds like you're less likely, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like less likely to do this with exact match because there's less, like you said, broader discovery potential with exact match versus these other broader targeting types.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and there I like that you made the distinction. So for example, you can also use this for exact match campaigns, but maybe for like to dominate on specific placements rather than using placement modifiers. The purpose of this campaign to duplicate is not that. It's, let's say, and you were mentioning also like that time range. Let's say for the past month, one campaign is performing extremely well. It's just a campaign that we already put in so much effort in optimizing it. Let's see if we are going to duplicate that, if we can replicate the same results. So we would have to have like data backed up that this already works. And usually what we would do is, for example, I'm not sure like on your end, but on our end, we are doing daily bid optimization or daily optimization, weekly and monthly. And usually this one is whenever we would do it on a monthly basis, because, like we don't want to create additional campaigns just to create them. But if something already worked well, why not try to emulate the success we previously had? Because keep in mind, there's like a ton of like ads inventory. And here, if we know that, for example, for a specific budget, let's say that it costs us 50 cents to convert, this is something that you can allocate budget to just test and experiment. And here, the idea is, even if you would bleed and it's not going to work, you'd have the least amount of risk that you dedicate to it. So this is kind of like a testing and experimenting campaign rather than this is the campaign that is going to like now generate all of the sales and I'm going to take budget from all the other campaigns that are out there. So I really like the questions that you ask, because like this is also like helping me like logically, this is the step-by-step process that I would do.
No, I love that, because you're saying exact match is something you can't duplicate that, but in that scenario, it's because you're trying to be like a little bit more like strategic, or there's more like intense optimizations you're doing around that exact match. Where this strategy, I love this strategy because we sort of see the best like long-term performing accounts are the ones where they're at extreme levels. So I've been able to see the performance at the extreme. And what I found is that the accounts that go into extreme, exact match only, hyper fixated on control of everything, those accounts struggle. And then on the flip side, the accounts that are like broad everything's autos,
Right.
those ones also struggle. So the way in which we manage, and it sounds like you do as well, is you kind of have a piece that's in that hyper targeted, go after rankings, like super specific hyper control. This is a, can we get low cost profitable traffic? And to do that, like you said, you have those existing campaigns that is their goal in terms of discovery. You can use it for two things. One, obviously discovering new targets to go after more, with more intentionality and exact, but you can also use it as sort of a low cost traffic. And so you're saying, hey, we know that there's ability here to do low cost traffic. Can we just duplicate it and get more?
Exactly. And yeah, I believe that this strategy, it's really helping accounts out there that already have data what works. And especially you can do this, as I was saying, on a monthly basis, even just to like allocate additional, this is not the strategy, 100% strategy that every account relies on. This is the 1% or 5% maybe that we are anyhow going to start creating new campaigns based on whatever performed well in the search keywords, whatever, if we want to gain additional market share, if we want to do anything that is way more strategic. So this is just part of the small that we've seen. Okay, why not just duplicate? Because we've seen previously results, because the end goal is to have as much control as you can. And here, like, even if you're starting an auto campaign and even if you're negating, even if so on, you still don't know what it's not working. When in fact, for these campaigns already, if you put in already 30 days on performance to see whatever worked and whatever, like, this is optimized as much as you can, and that is the whole idea behind it.
Cool.
So yeah,
I love it. I love it. This is, I have two more questions for you on this, and I think we pretty much wrapped it up because, like you said, I love these. Like you said, I'm the same way with you. It's like, there's no like true hacks, but yet sometimes you find these things. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. You're just go try it. Just hit copy, right? But my two questions for you is, one, when you're hitting copy, because you had mentioned like fixed bids and stuff, do you ever make changes to that copy campaign, like change the bidding strategy, put lower bids on it, do anything? Or do you find it's best to just straight copy it and then see what the performance is of that new copied campaign and then adjust from there?
Best is going to perform is just straight copying. Ensure that whenever you're going to do that, there's a small check that it says pause the other campaign. Uncheck that, because you don't want to pause already whatever is work. Like, why would you? Yeah. So clearly you're going to ensure that whatever you copy, it's going to be a new thing. And super, super important here, we are not going to do any bid adjustments, and we're not going to test anything on this one. And especially whenever you're creating a new campaign, this is a new campaign that you have no data. So this is still going to act like as previously it acted well, but now in this new like element, how it's going to act. So we don't want to change whatever worked. We don't want to lower bids, because then you're comparing apples to oranges. And you also don't want to increase bids, because again, you're going to compare apples to oranges. Yeah. So this is just like, okay, that's my reflection, and let's see how it's going to work. So
I like it.
Yeah.
One other question is, say, so I thought of another one, but say you copied it, because say it's an existing campaign that's absolutely crushing it. Performance is fantastic. And let's say because performance is great, you've scaled the budget up to $100 a day or something. Is there ever a scenario where you wouldn't touch anything, but you might cap budgets in the new campaign just to cap spend? Or do you say, like, in some world, the original campaign was working, we're just duplicating it, so let's just duplicate everything?
And now I wish this topic would have been even more structured, because that's exactly what we're doing. So whenever we are duplicating, what we're going to do, actually, we're going to have the budget. Because previously, like, keep in mind that whatever you're doing right now, you're testing, it's a hypothesis that might work or might not. So you don't want to allocate the full budget. Let's say the previous campaign that you just had $100 budget cap. For this one, you might use 50. So you're going to cut in half, and then during the day, you're going to see how is this performing. Because what we don't want to do is this is something new, therefore we don't want to allocate everything, or we don't want to treat it exactly the same way. It's like, I don't know, you're going to duplicate yourself. I mean, let's say you have kids, right? You don't want to give them the same authority that you have. You're going to give them just a bit of authority, and then if they can manage it, you're going to give more and more authority until they are going to become autonomous. So that's kind of the way how I'm thinking of it.
I like it. So I guess my other question is on those test campaigns, right? You 100% said, it's like maybe it will work, maybe it won't. It's a pretty easy lift. So why not test it? But how are you evaluating? And seeing as you already have that original campaign with those original targets, how long do you wait to see if it works? And then if it's not working, probably from a whole bunch of clicks and no sales, or, crazy high A cost or something, are you making adjustments? And then do you ever go and pause the copies?
So the first thing is, whenever I'm seeing that it does not work, right? Because we are assuming that it's going to work. How about it's not working? So there, what we're going to do, first off, we're going to lower bids, because we still keep the exact same strategy of it. If it has, let's say, 7 clicks, 10 clicks, whatsoever, you're going to start lowering bids, because you cannot accumulate 15 or 20 clicks on something that is not working, especially maybe if it's maybe it's an auto, maybe it has all the targeting types. So therefore, it's going to attract a lot of traffic. So here we have to be super, super careful, because it might sound as an easy quick fix. Actually, these are the campaigns that we are going to watch them as really, really quickly, because if this is going to take off and we're going to generate a lot of clicks, these are the ones that we would have to optimize as quick as possible, because this is just still a hypothesis. So based on that, what we would do is, all right, you created the campaign, you're logging in maybe at the beginning of the day. In 5 hours, you're going to check back, see if it's not working, see if you get any impressions so far. If you got no impressions, all right, let's give it a few more hours. End of the day, you're logging in again, it's still no impressions. Maybe the next day you might be considering increasing the bids, let's say by 25%. Because the idea with this one is that we're not going to duplicate something that maybe in that new scenario is not going to work with the bids that you already have. Clearly, the idea with this strategy is going to be to duplicate whatever outcome we previously had. And if the outcome is off, we have to adjust right away, because this is while we can afford a small test, we have to be even more cautious. Again, getting back to the example with the kids, you're going to give it autonomy, but the kid might think, oh, okay, I'm God, I can do all these things. There's no one's going to oppress me. Yeah, you're going to be oppressed if you're not acting the way that you're supposed to. So kind of that is the strategy behind.
I like it. So, and then I guess my last question for you, is there ever a scenario where you've done or do you only ever have one copy of the campaign? Or do you go, oh my gosh, this is crushing it, let's test another copy?
As many times as you can. So the idea here is that we want to be smart advertisers. You were saying about exact match. I am raising my hand. I'm that exact match type of crazy gal who preached this 4 years ago. And then it took me 3 years to understand that's not the case. So what I'm saying here, what we want to achieve is profitable sales. The purpose of these campaigns is generate profitable sales. And if it works, duplicate 2 times, 3 times, 4 times. Because the idea is that whenever you're going to start with the, hey, kid, this is not the way to do it. That is actually our way of adding negatives maybe for the new campaign, And what you're going to do is our end goal is to create perfection or as less amount of bleeding as possible. Therefore, whenever you're going to copy that, you're going to see, okay, there's one more keyword that is being triggered and that should be a negative, or there's one more placement that is triggering that should be a negative, therefore I should lower bids. So it's really a trick of duplicating whatever works. And if it works, you can duplicate it as many times as possible. You don't have to do it only once. But the whole purpose, the whole idea of the hack itself is you have to understand first off big level thinking, strategic thinking. This is a discovery campaign. In our usually how we are dealing with discovery campaigns is that those campaigns supposed to have within a specific range and below ACOS, below break-even ACOS, because those are not the ones that we're going to rank for. Therefore, these campaigns never should be triggering orders that are above our break-even ACOS, because these are just okay, here it is, do your small lemonade stand, see how it works, rather than this is a big business, you know what I mean? So I think that's really, really important for whoever is going to try out the campaign, is that don't rely only on this. This is only just a hack to be more fruitful rather than a whole strategy create with create this with this strategy, you know, you nailed everything, you know.
Yeah,
So that's the
yeah,
idea.
no, I love it. I appreciate the clarity there, and it's always great to hear these things because sometimes we're like, so I'm really excited about this series because there's some things we're like, oh, that sounds amazing, but it's always nice to hear from somebody who tested. So basically, what you're saying is like, hey, duplicate away, look at it about monthly, right? Straight up copy them, look to, but you're still with the new copies, you're still managing the performance of them. So if you can keep copying and the performance is still great across everything, why not? But if it's not holding its own, if it's not performing, well, then your optimizations should keep up with that. And those should tell you if you should turn it off, if you should pause it, which again, that goes down to core foundations. Have a really solid optimization structure, have a really solid bid optimization structure, but providing that structure is in place and you are optimizing for, again, these campaigns are low A costs. These are not try to get aggressive campaigns. These are profitable sales traffic campaigns, which I absolutely love because I 100% agree with you. There's that balance that you should have. So this has been amazing. Is there any other parting tips or questions I haven't asked? Because I feel like I have a solid understanding of your hack now.
Yeah, I think that the only thing that we have to be super careful. So these campaigns are, again, thinking of kids. They're supposed to just make you shine. These campaigns do not supposed to take away sales from your main campaigns. Rather than understanding that this is the next strategy that you're going to piggyback on, is like, this is supposed to bring me additional sales to the main campaigns that already work well. The moment that you're seeing that they are attracting sales from the main campaigns that already work well, and those sales are not the same profitable as then from the main campaigns, then it's really, you're going to be way more rigorous, because the idea is not to take away from that shine, but to make it shine even more. Does it make sense? So it's like adding on top of whatever it's built rather than taking away from whatever it has been built. I think that is the one thing that maybe have not been asked, but just like I'm thinking it through right now, and that is something that it's important that must mention.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because that is something that I should have asked or thought of, because I guess that would be, so you're just saying like, hey, the goal is to add more. If you're just taking from what you have and making it worse, that's a no-go. And just make sure that you're constantly leveling up and using this strategy, like you said, more profitable sales, not just the same sales that you've been getting somewhere else.
Exactly. We're not taking from one pocket and putting it into the other. We're still like both pockets. Love it. Love it.
I love it. This has been amazing. So first off, thank you so much for coming and sharing your knowledge with myself. I'm totally going to take this back to my team, be like, hey, you guys should try this strategy. But also with the viewers as well. It's been amazing. So if somebody is listening in, they're like, oh my gosh, this sounds awesome. How do I talk to you? Where to get a hold of you? Where should they reach out?
Sure thing. So first off, this was a pleasure. Do reach out on LinkedIn. I'm right now just growing my LinkedIn as much as I can. And also, if you want to look us up, go and check out scalewave.io. That is scalewave.io. And on LinkedIn, you can find me with my name. That is NoemiBollojan. I'm the only one coming up. Befriend me. If you like the episode, do share a shout out. Would appreciate it. If you didn't, and if you consider that this is the shittiest strategy ever, feel free to speak up. More than happy to hear it.
That's amazing. So we'll have all of those links in the description. If you want to reach out, definitely recommend it. And again, I really am excited to go test the strategy ourselves. Thanks.
Let us know how it works. Thank you.